They're hypocrites. Well, they're many things, one of which is they're hypocrites. But they also love playing the victim card when they get caught. I had a laugh recently. Michelle Obama made the following statement to the New York Post. White America acts like black women don't exist. White America acts like black women. Well, to that I say, how did Oprah get to be a billionaire? I think if you look at Oprah's demographics, the vast majority of her support actually came from white America. How did Michelle's husband get elected to be president and her first lady if, well, I mean, her statements are saying that white America, it's completely racist. Michelle Obama, white America acts like black women don't exist. Okay. Rick Grinnell, former acting director of the National Intelligence and former ambassador to Germany, addressed Michelle Obama, shut her down completely. Again, he stood up and he took action. Stood tall. Here's what he said to Michelle Obama. White people don't all think alike. Black people don't all think alike. Gay people don't all think alike. Ooh, that was a tough one, right direct center at Michelle Obama. And then he followed it up with, remember during the Republican National Convention, they spoke about Alice Johnson, a black woman who President Trump pardoned. Well, wait, if white America, in this case Donald Trump, doesn't recognize black Americans, how did he pardon her? Here's what Grinnell goes on. President Trump saw Alice Johnson, pardoned her. Barack Obama did not see Alice Johnson. You see, when all else fails, they love to throw the race card, the victim card. When I opposed Obamacare back in 2009, now remember, Obamacare was two parts. The first part was hidden in the stimulus bill. That's where all the rationing boards and the enforcement boards. I was one of the people who came out on that. I just got defamed, slandered, libeled by the deep state zealots. And when I said, well, here are the page numbers. Here's where the rationing boards are, right in the stimulus bill. First part of Obamacare, the health care bill in March of 2010. That was the second part. The first part passed in February 2009, right after Obama took office. That's where a lot of the nasty stuff was in Obamacare. And over time, I was proven to be 110% accurate on that and correct. But the first thing they threw at me was that I was a racist. No, not a racist, a realist. As I mentioned before, anyone that I've ever met who's been in a surgical operating room will never be a racist. Because when you make that incision on someone's skin, once you get through the first couple millimeters of skin, we're all the same color. We're pink. Pink. No. They love to throw that card because they think it's going to shut you up. No, not racists. Realists. And one of the things we've also spoke about from a reality standpoint is many that have an R after their name are no different than many that have a D after their name. As I've outlined before, there is one political party in Washington, my experience. It's called the Republicans. They're all owned and operated by the criminal banking syndicate, the New World Order crowd, the deep state, the globalist syndicate, whatever you want to call them. So whether you're a Romney or a Ryan or a McCain or a Pelosi or a Schumer or an Obama or a Clinton or a Bush, their bread is all buttered by the same deep state entity. Good example of that is, well, here's good old Jebby Bush. Jeb Bush consultants working to help Joe Biden and Kamala Harris win Florida. Oh, wait. Well, so is Mike Bloomberg. Oh, yeah, right. It's like globalists on parade in Florida. What did Bloomberg talk about throwing $100 million? $100 million. I mean, come on, man. If you want to spend your money wisely, send it to the people that are affected by these forest fires out west, or these people that got hit by these hurricanes in the south and southeast. Or how about all these communities that have been torched, destroyed in minority neighborhoods by the foot soldiers of the deep state from Black Lives Matter and Antifa? Remember, Patrice Coolers in 2015, one of the founders of Black Lives Matter, says they're a, quote, Marxist terrorist organization, end quote. Come on, Mike. 100 million. You got minority communities now in Minneapolis, Chicago, New York, Seattle, Portland, Atlanta, Kenosha. They've been torched. These folks not only, if they do have a place to live, they have no place to go grocery shopping, go to the laundry, go to nowhere. Because these thugs from Black Lives Matter and Antifa destroyed it all. If he was really intent on making a difference for the future of this country, that's where the 100 million would be going. That's where Jeb Bush would be focusing his attention. This is from John Binder from Breitbart. Former consultants for failed Republican presidential primary candidate Jeb Bush are now working with a never-Trump associated group to help Democrat Joe Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris win the swing state of Florida. You know, if all these hypocrites in the deep state were more concerned about what has happened in this country and making a difference, they keep their mouths shut and they put their efforts and their money into helping rebuild this country that terrorists have tried to burn down. You know, the former governor of Michigan, Rick Jennifer Schneider. Why do I call him Jennifer? Because the former governor of Michigan, a Democrat globalist, was Jennifer Granholm. And when Rick Schneider, supposedly a Republican, came in, his policies were no different than Jennifer Granholm, which is why I labeled him Rick Jennifer Schneider. Though I got a lot of trouble for that. All the Republican blue bloods. Oh, this is terrible. No. The guy supported Obamacare, Medicaid expansion, working with the globalists, building the bridge with Chinese steel to open up the one border that was privately owned, border crossing that was privately owned, the Ambassador Bridge. The guy's a globalist from the very beginning. And then he had the whole nightmare of what happened with the Flint water crisis. You know, he's funneling bottled water to his employees in Flint. Meanwhile, he's keeping under wraps what was really going on with the lead in the water. You know, the fact that Schneider was not prosecuted for his involvement in the Flint water crisis, or for that matter, the medical peril he put people in by supporting Obamacare and Medicaid expansion, or that whole deal with this new bridge made of Chinese steel, and his incredibly cozy relationship with China. You know, on my radio show, Dr. Bill Kaufman, who was an aerospace engineer at the University of Michigan, sounded the alarm 10 years ago on my radio show about what the University of Michigan was doing in letting technology that could be used for weapon systems go to China. And in particular, Bill Kaufman put a finger on a company by the name of Dissects that Rick Schneider was involved with that was selling dual-use technology to China. That dual-use technology was being used, according to Bill Kaufman, in IEDs, explosive devices, that killed and maimed thousands of our soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq. He sold a component that was used in those devices. Yeah, that's the former governor of Michigan. Rick Jennifer Schneider, Mr. Moral Ground, Mr. Deep State Dweeb. with his contracts with China. I mean, there wasn't every month that guy, when he was governor of Michigan, was flying over to China to cut some deal with China. So it doesn't go without saying that rather than focus his efforts on what could be done to clean up the mess that he created in Flint, no, instead, what does Mr. Moral Ground do? He issues a statement that President Trump is a bully and vote for Biden. Jamie Ross, the Republican former governor of Michigan, Rick Schneider, has endorsed Joe Biden while savaging President Donald Trump for being a bully, having no moral compass. This from the guy who was, I believe, criminally negligent as it relates to Flint and the people of Flint, about the harm that Obamacare has caused in our state, about him selling with a company of his dual-use technology, according to Dr. Bill Kaufman, to a company that then made IEDs in China used in Afghanistan and Iraq against our own patriots and soldiers. This is the guy who's saying President Trump has no moral compass. Yeah. That's what the deep state does. We've seen it here before on this platform. When we're over the target, we are constantly accused of being something that our adversaries are truly all about. They accuse others of what they are. And that is a good example with what Rick Jennifer Schneider did. Joe Biden, who says that, well, he's all about everybody and everybody with dignity and respect. And well, this whole thing I mentioned about Kenosha and what happened there. You know, what this all started was the shooting of Jacob Blake. Of note, when Jacob Blake was shot when he was lunging for a weapon, a knife, the police were there because he was violating a restraining order for previous charges against him for felony sexual assault. So, who did Joe Biden meet? Biden met Jacob Blake's father, who's anti-Semitic and loves Louis Farrakhan. This from Zero Hedge. Jacob Blake Sr., the father of Jacob Blake, a black man who was shot 4 times by police in Kenosha, Wisconsin, while violating a restraining order for felony sexual assault, is a giant anti-Semite, anti-Christian, and loves Islamic hate preacher Louis Farrakhan. And Kamala Harris, when she went to Kenosha, she spoke to Jacob Blake, the guy who had the sexual felony assault. Did she visit the woman who he had assaulted? No. She spoke with him over the phone, and she told him she was, quote, proud of him, end quote. Proud of him. Proud of him sexually assaulting a woman? Remember earlier, she spoke to her followers about supporting a fund that, well, would free some of these peaceful protesters. Well, her lemming followers supported that fund. And that fund ended up getting bail for people that have since been accused of, well, murder and assault, robbery. Unbelievable. Sick. Speaking of sick, Biden demands nationwide mandate that forces you to wear a mask in public at all times. This is from Michael Snyder from mostimportantnews.com. Joe Biden stated that he supports, quote, mandatory mask wearing, quote, in every U.S. state. Quote, every single American should be wearing a mask when they're outside for the next 3 months at a minimum. Oh, Election Day +1. Or +1 month. Quote, every governor should mandate mandatory mask wearing. Exactly how does that fit into the state constitutions and the federal constitution, by the way, Joe? I know. They're old documents, but they matter. The estimates, he states, by the experts, define experts, are that it will save over 40,000 lives in the next 3 months. 40,000 lives if people act responsibly, end quote. Okay, well, what data is he basing that on? So I did a search. The only data that can be linked to his statement comes out of the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, state of Washington. In the Annals of Internal Medicine, a peer-reviewed published article, Nicholas Jewell, out of London, England, wrote a study, Caution Warranted. Using the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation model, the one Joe Biden just spewed some data about, for predicting the course of COVID-19 pandemic. The Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation projections, according to the study, its conclusions, are based not on transmission dynamics, but on a statistical model with no epidemiological basis. Epidemiology, the study of the distribution of determinants of a disease or illness. No basis. From Sharon Begley at stat.com, influential COVID-19 model, the one I just spoke about, the one that Biden referred to, uses flawed methods and should not guide U.S. policies. A widely followed model for projecting COVID-19 deaths in the U.S. is producing results that have been bouncing up and down like an unpredictable fever, and now epidemiologists are criticizing it as flawed and misleading for both the public and policymakers, yet Biden uses that. In particular, they warn against relying on it as the basis for government decision-making, including any kind of reopening. That, quote, that the IHME model, the one Biden referred to, keeps changing is evidence of its lack of reliability as a predictive tool, said epidemiologist Ruth Etzoni of the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center. Quote, that it is being used for policy decisions and its results interpreted wrongly is a travesty unfolding before our eyes, end quote, she said. Now, I don't know if you saw what happened on Sunday. On Saturday, Joe Biden didn't appear. No, didn't appear at all. No. In fact, their campaign announced there are going to be no public appearances by Joe today, and they announced that at 8:30 in the morning. What? And then on Sunday, he rolled out to, I believe, the Constitution Center, and he kind of shuffled up to the podium. He had his mask on. He took his mask off. Started coughing. He was short of breath. He was wheezing. And then he started to mumble out some things about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, wait a minute. And then he started coughing. Well, if that is not a prime example, there are all this data out there about the hazards of wearing masks. Every time you see Biden, he's wearing a mask. So when I saw that, I said, wow, that is a testimonial for the hazards of wearing a mask. I mean, look at how he's short of breath and he's wheezing and he's coughing. And I mean, it surely could not be that he has COVID, because we all know the globalist deep state experts have all told us that if you wear a mask, you're not going to get, it prevents COVID. It's interesting. We're going to have to see what happens in the ensuing week, because he has a debate coming up. Many people believe he's going to find a way to wiggle out. So was this a little stage setting by Biden and his campaign and his handlers about why Basement Joe isn't going to come out of the basement for the debates. Speaking about stages, the deep state went on record starting in, early September. And they said, starting September 17th, our Occupy Lafayette Square protesters, they're going to do a 50-day, they're going to implement a 50-day, quote, White House siege, end quote. And things could get very ugly. Here's that fear again. Here's that fear. What they wanted is everybody go, no! And let them burn down Lafayette Square and even burn down the White House. Go for it. On September 17th, the 9th anniversary of Occupy Wall Street, protesters are planning to begin a siege of the White House that will last 50 days, right up until Election Day, November 3rd. The website for the event is planning to bring thousands of protesters into Lafayette Square to, quote, lay siege to the White House, end quote. One image on the site depicts the White House on fire, and others show large riots directly in front of the building. Well, you might be saying, wait a minute. September 17th, that was last Friday. Why have I not heard anything about this? How about this? On the 16th of September, Attorney General Barr faced evil right in the face. And as Ruth Janda said, stood up, stood tall, and took action. He said, look, you're going to do this? You're going to be involved in arson? Here's the deal. We're going to charge everyone there with sedition. Oh, federal offense. 20-some years in prison. Guess what? They canceled the 50-day siege based in Lafayette Square. You see, when it comes to the deep state, they rely on fear and you becoming paralyzed and you not protecting your freedoms and the freedoms for your families and your communities and your state and our country. They want you sequestered. They want you in your homes. They want you being essentially under house arrest on your own volition. I don't choose to do that. And when they are confronted, this is what happens. Flamethrower packing Antifa. Oh, that sounds ominous. Flamethrower packing Antifa member entered the fetal position and began crying after unsuccessful escape from the police. He goes by Commander Red. Ooh, that's ominous, isn't it? Yeah. A 23-year-old Wisconsin man carrying a flamethrower, smoke grenades, and fireworks during a demonstration recently in Green Bay dropped into the fetal position and began crying after he was chased down by police. Who was this guy? Matthew Banta. Don't you think his parents are proud of him? Oh, I can just imagine. Matthew Banta of Neenah, Wisconsin, who is known to be a violent Antifa member who incites violence in otherwise relatively peaceful protests, was one of 4 individuals walking toward a protest with baseball bats, a flamethrower, smoke grenades, and fireworks. A responding officer said he saw 4 individuals walking toward the protest with baseball bats and all of the above. One man was wearing a metal helmet with goggles and military-style gear with multiple pouches and was carrying an Antifa flag. When the officer pulled his squad car in front of the group, they ran away. The officer caught Banta, who was carrying the flag, and says Banta, quote, dropped into a fetal position and began crying, end quote. That police officer stood tall, confronted evil, took action. There you go. No one in the bought-off lamestream fake media, including the controlled opposition of Fox News, are going to talk to you or present this information that I just did. Why? Because they want you fearfully hiding in your homes. It's much easier to win an election that way, to throw an election that way. It's much easier to strip every American of every American's freedoms when everybody's hiding in their homes. Nope, not this guy, and I hope not you. Our country and our future are riding on each and every American stepping forward for freedom, for liberty, for the future of our country. Go back to Ruth Janda. Evil only has power if you become fearful. Always stand strong and take action. End quote. I thank you for your time. I hope you'll join us on the radio show 2 to 5 Eastern. It's free. Stream it live at davejanda.com on Sundays. I also hope you will network this information to anyone and everyone you know. And I also hope you'll become part of our Freedom family. Without our subscribers, this YouTube channel, the radio show, and the website, davejanda.com, would not exist. I believe it's the biggest bang for the buck in all the internet. Extra shows, extra content, archives to all of our shows that we have done over the past 10 years. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thank you for your time today. Stand strong. Take action.